Final.
Cup championship bound, baby! Woo! Big cup, baby! Woo! Here, man. It got a little crazy out there, but we made it through. Oh,
we're gonna keep stacking the day, so see you in the championship.
Bow! Let's go!
Cup championship bound, baby. Here we are. Things got a little crazy out there, but we made it through, and we're just going to keep stacking these days. See you in the championship. Let's go. June 17th wasn't just another game, it was payback time. Do you remember May 30th when JC Sheldon and the Connecticut Sun left Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson injured on the floor, with dirty plays going unpunished? While the Indiana Fever remembered everything, and when Sheldon poked Caitlin Clark right in the eye during this rematch, something snapped. What happened next will show you exactly why you don't mess with Clark's teammates, because Sophie Cunningham was about to deliver the most satisfying flagrant foul you've ever seen.
It was chippy the last time these two teams faced off too. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with JC Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
But what people don't talk about enough is how hard you have to work to be able to be that good. All the hours that she's spent perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing, and hitting.
So she can do that.
On Indiana arguing the call.
I mean, step back, you're late. She almost looks you in the eye.
If you support the Fever, comment down below, CC and Spicy Sophie, let's go. It was a chippy one the last time these two teams faced off. 2. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but what most people don't talk about enough is how hard she had to work to be able to perform at this level. All the hours she spent perfecting her craft, retreating, firing, and hitting shots like she did.
Physicality for a second. 2 players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was JC Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. When you dive for a ball, you don't land on somebody's leg. She landed on top of Sydney Coulson's leg, and her leg got stuck and literally twisted around. Both injuries, both Sydney Coulson and Sophie Cunningham, were contact injuries.
It's not just about showing up, it's about earning that spot. Back to May 30th, Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. Everything went wrong for the Fever that night, and it all started so normally. Another matchup between 2 WNBA teams, fighting for position, but the Sun came out with a level of physicality that went from competitive to dangerous quickly. You could feel the tension building from the opening tip.
They weren't non-contact. They weren't ACLs, they weren't Achilles, they were contact injuries caused by the same player. And this kind of physicality that the WNBA they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the it's not good basketball. And we've seen so many injuries. Paige Becker's out with a concussion. Rakia Jackson was out with a concussion. All of these injuries are contact plays. We've seen Caitlin Clark last year get chucked to the ground. We saw Angel Reese get clothesline chucked to the ground. The players continue to do it because the refs are allowing them. Why wouldn't you keep doing it if you're a physical player?
Let's talk about that physicality for a second. 2 Indiana Fever players got injured during that game, both by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, JC Sheldon. I tweeted about it. She was playing recklessly. I'm fine with players being aggressive, but there's a thin line between playing aggressively and playing recklessly. She dove for a ball and landed on top of Sydney Coulson's leg, which got stuck and twisted around.
This is a reckless play. This is reckless. It is dangerous. And this angle makes it look even worse. It is dangerous. Like, Sid Coulson is between her and the ball. Sid Coulson is in fact between JC Sheldon and the ball, and she dives through her knee. It wasn't even called as a foul. It wasn't even called as a foul.
The injuries were contact injuries, not ACLs, not Achilles injuries, just reckless contact that could have been avoided. Sophie Cunningham went down first, and then Sydney Coulson. Both injuries seemed deliberate, too hard for what should have been routine basketball. The worst part, JC Sheldon was involved in both of these incidents. Her aggressive play made it hard for anyone to understand how the officials let it all slide without consequence. The frustration built. The Fever fought hard, but they lost that game 85-83, and more importantly, they lost 2 key players to injuries that could have been prevented, all while Sheldon walked away scot-free with no penalty. That wasn't just bad basketball, it was dangerous. That's something fans have seen too many times in the WNBA. Contact injuries, too many to count.
And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her. Like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
And the refs turning a blind eye. That was the tipping point for Caitlin Clark. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. She had a personal stake in this game, and her rivalry with Sheldon went back to their college days. Sheldon made it her mission to get under Clark's skin. Every time they faced off on the court, Sheldon shadowed Clark, bumping her on screens, trash-talking during dead balls. It wasn't just a game, it was personal. She had crossed the line from competitive to something else entirely. The officials that day seemed oblivious to it all, letting hard fouls go uncalled, dangerous plays ignored.
Now after this, you guys, of course, the referees are going to review the play because that's a lot of contact going on right there. That's a lot of unnecessary contact. That's a lot of non-basketball contact happening during this play, right? So the 3 referees that I like to say, they got them straight out of Sephora because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes they were watching this play.
Clark had to watch her teammates get hurt while Sheldon walked off without a warning. That was more than Clark could bear, and you could see it in her eyes during the handshake line after the game. She wasn't done with this. The Fever would remember that loss. They would remember who caused the injuries, and they would remember how the officials let it all happen. Finally, June 17th arrived, and Clark was back from her quad injury.
Announcers here saying, of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles, technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were
After a dominant win against the undefeated New York Liberty, the Fever were ready to face the Sun again. This was her second game back after 3 weeks away, and you could tell she remembered everything. Her walk onto the court, the way she looked at Sun players during warm-ups, this wasn't just another game for her.
The officials don't get control of the ball game when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to.
Clark hits a 3 from deep, and there's Sheldon right there, hand in her face, guarding her like her life depends on it. Sheldon was sticking close, shadowing Clark on every possession, doing the same little things that made basketball ugly. This was the same aggressive style that had hurt Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson back in May, and everyone in the arena could feel that something was coming. Clark wasn't going to let it slide this time. She started talking to the official about Sheldon's extra contact. Then, in the third quarter, it happens. Clark is bringing the ball up when Sheldon goes for a steal attempt. Her finger jabs straight into Clark's eye. You could see Clark's head snap back. The whole arena felt the intensity of the moment. This wasn't a basketball play, it was a targeted move. Clark's pain and anger were palpable, but what followed was even more shocking. The officials penalized Clark for reacting, giving her a technical foul for pushing Sheldon away after getting poked in the eye. The decision made no sense.
Sophie commits a hard foul on JC Sheldon. Again, as JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely.
The game continued and tempers flared. The referee's response only made matters worse. In the chaos that followed, Marina Mabrey, perhaps thinking enough was enough, took it upon herself to escalate things further. Mabrey body-checked Clark, sending her crashing to the floor in an act of aggression that was so obvious it left no room for doubt. The fans were in shock, the Fever bench was on their feet, and coach Stephanie White was losing her mind on the sideline. The officials, however, still refused to take control of the situation.
It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't going to injure JC. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't going to handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, JC Sheldon got up and she was ready to go. So as you guys can see in this video, a whole scuffle breaks out. Sophie and JC are going after it. Both teams are running over, trying to break it up. It kind of goes into the fan section.
After a long review, Mabrey was given just a common technical foul. Clark had been poked in the eye and then body checked, but both players received the same penalty. The math didn't add up, and the crowd knew it. They couldn't believe the referees were letting this go on without addressing the obvious misconduct.
Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie." Sophie's jersey is gonna sell out tonight. She's gonna be in the All-Star game tonight just from this one play because she was standing on business. It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul and it was meant to send a message. It turned into a scuffle and I don't think anybody wants.
As the game continued, the Fever's frustration boiled over. With just a minute left on the clock, Sophie Cunningham saw her chance to deliver payback. She lined up Sheldon on a fast break and then took her down with a bear hug, taking her to the ground. This wasn't just basketball, it was payback for May 30th, for the injuries, for the dirty plays, for the lack of consequences. Cunningham's foul was intentional, but it wasn't meant to injure. It was a clear message. If the refs weren't going to protect her teammates, she would. The officials assessed Cunningham with a flagrant 2 foul, and she was ejected from the game. Sheldon and Lindsay Allen were also tossed for their involvement, but the damage was done. The Fever had finally gotten justice. Sophie Cunningham stood up when it mattered, and the entire league saw it. The Fever went on to win the game 88-71, and this victory wasn't just about basketball. It was about showing the entire league that they weren't going to be intimidated, that they would fight for their teammates, and that they would protect each other. This victory sent them to their first ever Commissioner's Cup final, and more importantly, it showed that sometimes the officials won't protect you, but your teammates will. So, Sophie Cunningham became a hero. Her jersey sold out that night. She earned an all-star spot, all for standing on business when it mattered most. This wasn't a dirty play, it was justice, and it sent a message that no one would forget. The Indiana Fever had finally taken back control and proved to everyone that loyalty and teamwork would always come first.